Howdy, everyone. So what you see here are, actually, hold on. Let me see if I can get a little bit better lighting. I doubt it, but I'll give it a shot. All right, so these are the engine mounts that I will be using. I guess it's more appropriate to call these engine isolators, I guess. I'm not really sure, but when I had bought the engine used, I also received everything that you see here: the mounts, the insulators, if you want to call them that, bolts, washers, nuts. A couple of things. I just spent a few hours cleaning all this because these have been sitting around for who knows how long, and they were pretty nasty. So I cleaned them up. I got all the gunk off of them. Let me come out here. This might be better. I got all the gunk and just crapola that was on them from sitting around. And so I cleaned everything really well. I'm going to reuse all of it, and none of this seems to be damaged. They seem to be, I think they might be used, but I'm not sure because they look awfully stinking good if they are used. But anywho, couple of things. These are the Lord mounts. Now, I believe there are other mounts out there. I think there are another type of mount. They're called Berry. I think it's Berry mounts. Those, the only difference that I can tell, you'll note that there are smooth. These are smooth. And then there are also these that are kind of stepped. The Berry mounts, I think they have more steps. This has a single step. The Berry mounts, I think, have multiple steps. But don't quote me on any of this. I'm not familiar with these mounts. This is all new territory for me. The other thing is these are not part of the Berry mounts. There's a steel shaft that runs through these. With the Berry mounts, you get the steel shaft. You don't get this gelled, filled, whatever you want to call this thing, but you do not get this. You just get the solid rod spacer, if you will. I don't know what's better. This to me makes more sense because this helps isolate more as far as vibration. But don't quote me on that. I'm just getting to know these Lord mounts, and I know nothing about the Berry mounts other than the couple of differences that I just talked about. So a little bit different on the stepping or the ribbing, and these gel pack deals are the only differences that I'm aware of. These are a lot more expensive. So anywho, this is what I was given when I received the engine. So I'm just going to reuse these because they look fine now that I've cleaned them up. So I'm getting ready to mount the engine. I've got it sitting over there, ready to roll, literally, and I'll be bringing it over and doing the installation. Another thing to remember or to think about, which is new to me, like I said, this is all new to me, these engine mounts. Again, you have two different kinds, all right? And you use one of each for each set. So this is a set, this is a set, this would be a set, and this would be a set, okay? And the stepped ones or the ribbed insulators are harder than the non-ribbed. These are a little bit softer material. These are harder. These you want on the compression side of the engine mount. So if you think about it, when you have the engine here on the actual mount itself, with the engine here, it's going to be hanging, right? So on the top mounts, the compression is going to be on this side. The engine's going to try to sag, and this insulator is going to be compressed. So you want that ribbed mount on the back side on these two top ones. Contrary to that, on the bottom, as the engine's trying to sag, it's going to compress from this front side on the bottom. These insulators are going to be compressed in this manner, so you want the ribbed insulators on the front side on the bottom. So my battery, yet again, is getting ready to die. just keep that in mind. I'll go over that more as I go through it, but it's simple things like that that you have to make sure you understand and that you get correct when you do the installation. So I'm going to put this on charge. I'm going to get some work done, and I'll talk to you guys here later. Howdy, everyone. Well, the time has come. I am ready to put this engine up on the airplane and mount it to the engine mounts, and I'm pretty jacked about it. I probably don't sound it, but I am actually pretty excited. A little nervous because it's a big deal. You know, you got to get the thing up there and you got to get it bolted on, and you know, are still some things that can go wrong, but you do what you can with what you have, right? So it's really exciting from just a standpoint of nostalgia, right? So back when I first started on this project and through the years as I continue to work my way through it, you would hear about people getting to this milestone, and you would see some video or you would see pictures on websites or blogs where they're getting ready to mount the engine. And I remember thinking about it and thinking to myself how far off in the future that is for me. You know, oh, I can't wait for that day to come, because between now and then I'll find an engine and I'll find a propeller and I'll have all this other work done, and then the day will finally arrive where everything will come together and I can finally mount the engine onto the airplane. Well, today is that day. So again, just some stuff real quick. You can see I've got this engine hoist. It is, actually I guess it's called a shop lift. But anyway, brand new. I just bought it for this particular occasion. Had I thought about it, I would have bought it sooner because I could have used it to lift the fuselage so I can get the landing gear on. But so this is a 1-ton Harbor Freight. Well, it's the brand name is Pittsburgh Automotive, but I bought it at Harbor Freight, got a good deal on it, had a coupon, all that good stuff. Drove over to Harbor Freight, picked it up, brought it home, so I didn't have to order it and wait for it or anything like that. You can see a strap between the metal chain hook and the engine itself. That just makes it easier to move the engine around with a little bit of extra length between the boom and the engine. Again, it makes it a little bit easier just to move the engine around. Plus, I didn't want the metal-to-metal contact between the hook and the nicely painted loop that's on the engine itself. So I'm ready to roll. Like I said in my last clip, these are ready to go, the actual mounts. So I've got everything prepped. It's literally just a matter of lifting this thing up, getting it in a position, and getting it bolted in. So I'm going to do that, and along the way I'll stop in real quick just to show you what's going on and how things kind of fit together. So without further ado, here we go. See you in a little bit. Howdy, everyone. All right, so a few things that I'm starting to realize as I trying to get this engine mounted. I think what I prefer to do, or at least what I'm going to try initially, I'm going to pre-install all 4 or all 8, if you will, insulators on the 4 corners of the mount. That seems to be maybe a little bit easier than trying to fit them in between the engine and the mount, like after the fact. And I'm going to see I don't know if it's possible, but I'm going to see if I can kind of do all 4 of them at once. I don't know. I'm not there yet. The top ones are a little bit difficult because you've got this cross brace here and you can't get the bolt in. You kind of have to put this back half in as an assembly. You'll see what I'm talking about when you get to that point. But like I said, I'm going to do the 4 insulators, pre-install them into the mount first. And again, the ribbed mount goes on the outside for the top ones because it's getting compressed by the sag of the engine. And then on the bottom, the ribbed insulator goes on the front side of the mount because it is getting compressed due to the sag of the engine is going to compress it this way. So make sure you have those oriented correctly. The other thing to remember is there's a smaller washer a smaller diameter washer. Here, I'll just show you over here. So you'll have 4 of these large washers and 2 of these smaller diameter washers. You can see it's slightly smaller diameter than the other one. The large washers, the 4 large washers go on the insulator underneath the head. And then the 2 slightly smaller diameter washers, those go on the bottom between the mount and the engine. And the reason for that is this lip right here will contact the insulator. So let me grab that washer again. The slightly smaller diameter washer will take up that space so that the insulator will lay flat against the washer, and this will not cause any interference. So make sure on the bottom mounts that you fit that washer between the engine and the mount itself here on both sides. So that's where I am currently. Let me continue on. I'd like to get some bolts in this thing and not have it hanging out like this just on the stand. So I'll come back here in a second.